Zoom in. City proximity, renting, for sale, for lease. Is that a thing of the past? Stay tuned.
Listen up.
Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael Bergio, Mark Novak, episode 309. Is renting or selling or living in the city, close to the city, a thing of the past? Welcome, Mr. Novak.
Working.
Welcome.
How are ya? It's
well.
yeah. You know what? It's a big one. Hey, like everyone, that whole commuting to the city, driving to the city, busing to the city, like light rail to the city, training to the city. It's all changed, and is it forever, mate? Like, and I'd love to know what people are watching, what your feedback actually is. But is this going to be temporary? How is it affecting property now and in the future? This is a big one. This is a big topic.
It is, because up until this year, one of the major things people would always consider and tell us, especially Northern Beaches, if they're looking at property, was the beeline, access to the city. Everything was around access to the city. And we see that a lot with DY property because of the beeline major bus stop. It's done very well, if not better, than a suburb like Freshwater. And if you're from Northern Beaches, you'd be like, Freshwater's way better. But DY's growth, DY rental prices has done better. And a main contributing factor to that was the direct link to the beeline into the city. And same with Manly. Yes, the beaches are beautiful, but a big thing of Manly was I can walk down to the ferry. Now, after COVID, a lot of work structures changing, we're just seeing, if you're thinking of like the rings, like a tree rings, you're just seeing that go wider and wider. Everyone wanted to consolidate in the middle, and Sydney CBD was that middle, but things are changing over the last 6 months. And I think people are looking further out of those rings. We're seeing a big surge of people inquiring on rental properties and taking rental properties from the eastern suburbs to Northern Beaches. And I know we've got a lot of friends who are agents in Newcastle, Mark, who are just seeing a big surge. We've had agents from the country, a big surge of inquiries because people are sort of breaking off from that perception demand to live in the city. Lisa Kramer just wrote, I've got clients wanting to move to Vaucluse from Double Bay Hill. So what's your thoughts, Mark? I just looked off air. Sydney CBD rental prices, the median asking rent is down 16%, where Newcastle Northern Beaches is staying the same. So, and I reckon there's a lot of growth. That
16% is a big number. 16% is a big number.
Yeah,
it's a huge number. I don't think we have ever witnessed in the last 30 years of property a shift of downwards of 16% anywhere. This is momentous stuff. You know what makes me wonder? Is it temporary? Because I'm of the thought, like, I love when everyone runs north to run south, when everyone runs south to run north. And I've had a lot of conversations with clients about, why don't you consider moving into the CBD at the moment because rents are cheap? Why don't you consider moving into the CBD at the moment because purchase prices are cheaper? So the property values. And not only that, Michael, but we've got a couple of unit blocks in Kirribilli and North Sydney that we manage, and where that same 16% correction is happening, clear, present, actually happening in suburbs like North Sydney and Kirribilli. So that's, if you consider the core of the CBD, the next rung, the next circle around that core would be North Sydney, would be Alexandria, would be Mascot. That next ring around Rushcutters Bay, I believe they're as cheap as the CBD at the moment.
Yeah, exactly right. And when we say, is it temporary? It's one of those things to go, what's caused this? Is there's obviously a big restriction on what people can do. There's also been a big push of people working from home. And I think there's going to be a big realization of, is that more effective, or is that going to, are businesses seeing shifts? Are they seeing a change? And because it's not like they haven't been around before. It's like Zoom. Zoom's been around for years, but there hadn't been this big change to use it and it being top of mind to go, well, now instead of doing it face to face, I prefer Zoom. Zoom was always probably like second or third on the list. People would rather fly down to Melbourne, have a meeting face to face than do a Zoom. But now we're seeing Zoom's priority go up. And are we going to see that where I think a lot of people dance with the idea of having satellite offices rather than one big one, or they love the idea of having the big office in the city, but maybe on a practical level, they just didn't do the change. But this is now really push. Now, because of this, people are sort of seeing the work from home, seeing the satellite offices. Do I need to be in the city CBD? So I think some of it will push back to old ways or back into the city CBD. But I think there's going to be a lot of new business structures adapting what they've done in the last 6 months and using it moving forward. So we see down 16% in the medium rental asks of Sydney. I don't see it always holding at 16%, but I think it will come back a bit. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who won't go back to old ways. Just like a lot of people are not going to stop using Zoom once all the restrictions are up or whatever with COVID. I think they needed that push to an online platform. They needed that push to an online communication. They needed that push to have staff work from home and go, well, they weren't useless at home. Okay, maybe we can relook at that. They'll need that push. So
guys and girls, I'd like to know your feedback. We're pros in the industry. We're dealing with buyers and sellers every day. But in your heart of hearts, what do you think? Do you reckon the property market, commercial, residential, sales, rentals in the CBD of Sydney, is it going to recover, and is it going to achieve the capital growth that those suburbs out of those areas are getting as well? I would love to know your feedback. So pop your comments in. Let us know what you think, because what do we think? Is it going to happen? Is it going to come back to normal?
Yes, I do believe, like what Admal says, stigma of high density and risk of catching the virus. I do not believe a bad 6 months will reshape people's perception and buying patterns for 50 years for the next few years. And what do I mean by that? The best of buying property was owning in Sydney CBD. That was like the forefront. You own a property at Caesar Harbour Bridge, basically. Yep, the last 6 months, maybe the last year has been bad, and probably the next 6 months will be. But I think it's very hard to change that whole foundation of that stigma of owning, or the prestige of owning in the city or having a business in the city. I think that's going to be very hard to break. So I do believe it's going to bounce back.
But did we really dream of living in the city, or did we really dream of living well, tree change, seed change? If you go into the heart of hearts and the core of people, like, was it really, were we just doing it because for work, or were we actually doing it because that was just really cool and we've always wanted to do that? Because I would have thought that tree change or seed change is really in the heart of hearts of people. They're not, the CBD of Sydney is just a means to an end. It's your career, where you just, you're going to be doing that for maybe 40 years. But where you want to live, is that really what you want to live? Not only that, Michael, but I can't help to think that the whole COVID thing that we're going through is going to be the rest of my lifetime.
But in saying what I was saying, I believe COVID has allowed people to take that leap of moving out of the city. enforce that. A lot of people have danced with that sea change, tree change concept, but I don't know. They were just stuck in a rut. They're scared. It was too big. COVID has just given people the free will just to sort of take that move. So there's going to be that onward reaction through to the country, through to Northern Beaches, through to the Newcastle as well. But I just wouldn't be betting against the Sydney CBD. But I think there's going to be some strong areas that get some strong growth. We're running under the assumption CBD has to lose for, say, Northern Beaches to win. I believe they both will do well.
I think COVID licensed employees to work remotely. COVID removed the right to employers to say no to remote work. Why are we talking about this is because it's indexing off property prices now. It's indexing off rental prices and sales prices if you're in the CBD or if you're one or two suburbs away from the CBD. So I think to understand what property prices are going to do, we've certainly understood the last 9 months because it just bloody happened. But to understand the next 9 months and 9 years, I think we've got to understand people's sentiment. And the whole, because I genuinely don't think, give us a vaccine. I don't think the world's ever going to go back to the way it was.
Yeah. And I think especially for that next 9 month pattern, I think if you looked at last 9 months to the next 9 months, I definitely believe there'll be a lot more activity outside that initial ring of the CBD. But people are quick to go. I think it'll be interesting for the year one after, year two and year three. So there could be some great opportunities in that sort of CBD, but you may want to be very conservative in what you look at what your rent can get. You want to be looking at it what it's getting now, sort of thing. You don't want to be like, 2018 it got $2,000 a week. I'll buy it based on that, because, as you said, there's a lot of people re-looking at how they run their business, where they run their business, and also where they want to live. So we'll definitely see. We'll see. What's that, Mel? Mel's got a few things to say.
But are you going to put your money there? That's the thing, are you going to put your money into the CBD after what's happened to the CBD? When you see a correction of 16% in 9 months, which is a massive hit on your rent, have you permanently lost faith in that city suburb? To say, or are you going to bank on it? I'll give you an example, guys and girls. There was a time on the Northern Beaches about a month or two into COVID that I should have bought property, because since then it did go down and it just skyrocketed straight after. Who's to say that the CBD may not do the same thing where you're buying for cheap now, albeit a longer pattern, but you're buying it at a low now and it's going to skyrocket later. It's a hard one, eh?
Yeah, it is. And I think there'll be a lot of people who will be betting on the CBD to bounce back, and there'll be a lot of people who will be looking at that next ring. They'll look when you have sort of a crisis and you see like the ripples and see where things do well and things don't do well. Sometimes that's the forecast of where things are going. For example, online conferencing. Like through this crisis, it has skyrocketed. Now, will that just stop in a year, or will that just continue to grow? So it's like you need to see where, and so there's a lot of things that have accelerated because of this, and that's where trends will be. So sometimes a crisis can accelerate trends and what we could be doing, should be doing, and sometimes it will take things back. But it will be interesting over the next couple years, especially in those areas as well. And then how will that go for like your Parramatta CBD? Will that take a hit like a Sydney CBD, or will that sort of grow because those rings around it are much cheaper to buy in? So, and keep in mind, Sydney CBD is getting diluted with 3 new CBD precincts in the big master plan. So back of coronavirus, back of 3 new CBDs, what is it, the Great Western one, Parramatta, and another airport. Is Sydney CBD going to have a bad 5 years coming up
Yeah.
because, yeah, and off the back of that, a lot of the immigration sort of went directly to CBD and surroundings. So we know that's going to be a lot lower. Students.
Yeah.
So it could be some dark days ahead. But as
Well,
I said,
I can't help but to think of it as the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
It's interesting. That little rung and that little inner ring in the city is the Ring of Fire. I don't know if you want to put yourself in there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's to take a bit of talk on direction, and a bit of this morning was really look at where you're buying and the patterns and the trends. Can't initiate that enough. Yes, big believer, property prices, like you see the 10-year trend, but there's always different times to buy different places and where you want your business. So I definitely have a look, and we're seeing big trends of people looking for a lifestyle change, living by the water, living in the country. You imagine having a big headquarters from the city move to sort of a country region. Could happen.
Well, it's the quality of staff you're attracting as well. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a certain profile businesses that would be excellent, certain profile business that would not. So yeah, that's interesting as well. But then you got remote. How much is remote going to be in it? But yeah, that's a take.
That's a take. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Anmar. Thank you, Lisa. We'll be back tomorrow morning.
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire. Bye, boy.
See you. Bye.